And even then it said like in the meditative absorption of the noble Gagana Ganja, it says it's like when you have a tree, a sala tree, a specific kind of tree, you cut a tree, so in the same way as the other trees don't have a feeling, of pain when another tree is cut down, so likewise for a person, it's like it's not really theirs, it's not like they're attached to this body, so it's like giving away this body, it's like cutting down another tree, kind of like, or giving away a vegetable, as I sometimes say. But there's a bit of a contradiction, because here it says in the second, in the Ratnavali, it says there's no physical pain and how to mention mental pain. But there are other sources which talk about an arhat, although they've overcome the afflictive obscurations, they can still experience pain, in the sense that they can still experience the result of negative karma. It can still ripen, so getting sick or dying prematurely due to an obstacle. So how do you reconcile this with this explanation here? And some say, well, there's no mental suffering. Of course, when we get sick, we have physical suffering. There's also the mental worry, the mental the stress of being sick. They no longer experience that. But then others would say, well, what about the physical suffering? Here it says there's no physical pain. My guess is that they still experience pain, but they don't call it pain. It is no longer regarded as pain. So to say it's probably the same, so if you have like a knee pain, whatever is the sensation in your knee or the sensation in your belly, like when you're nauseous, it's the same, I guess, but it's not seen as pain. It's not seen, so therefore it's not really interpreted as pain. The mental distress is not there, but even mentally you wouldn't say, oh, this is pain. It's just a sensation, and so you can bear it easily. I'm not sure. There's a bit of a debate on that. Yeah? But the point is, nonetheless, once you realize emptiness directly, you don't experience it. It's like giving away a vegetable, but you shouldn't give away your body before you have great compassion. Okay? But what you can do is give away blood, for example. We've already heard. Maybe if you ever decide to cut your hair, well, there's no one with long hair in here, but you could give your hair to someone who has cancer. It's very beautiful. Some people do that. You give away your hair, you decide to cut it, you plate it, what do you call it? You make a plate. Yeah, I don't know in English, but anyway, so what do you call it? Anyway, I don't remember now. So then you can give it to someone who makes wigs for cancer victims, because they're very expensive. So instead of selling your hair, you could just give it to some charity that makes wigs for children, for example, who have cancer. So one should not give away one's body before having great compassion. That's the inappropriate from the point of view of time. Inappropriate giving from the point of view of purpose is to not give away your body for a trifling purpose. Right? Obviously. Or just give away your blood for a trifling purpose. Like if it's just thrown away, I mean, whatever. For no good reason. Of course, you should not give it away for just nothing. So it should be a good purpose. Inappropriate giving from the viewpoint of the one who asks for something. It should not be someone who is mentally disturbed, who is, it says here, possessed. I mean, we don't know. Some of the people who have mental problems, from a Buddhist point of view, they say that sometimes they can be possessed by certain beings. I don't know. I don't want to go into this right now, but basically people we regard as mentally not sane or mentally not stable, yeah, mentally stable. So not to offer something our body for the ones who ask, who are not in their right mind. Okay. So there are two ways of giving one's body: either to actually give one's body or to give parts of the body. I already mentioned that. And then this is from the point of view of the body. And then there's a detailed explanation about outer things which are not to be given. So there's again how to not give outer things. What we should refrain from is inappropriate giving from the viewpoint of time, the gift, the person, the material thing, and the purpose. And I don't know what's the difference between the gift and the material things. They're so similar, I don't know. So anyway, forgot to look it up. I was going to look it up one more time and I forgot. But anyway, so inappropriate giving, I'll do this later, from the point of view of time. Obviously giving, not giving a meal to those who have taken the Mahayana precepts, so not to give it to them after lunch. Okay, that's from the point of view of time. Or someone who's not supposed to eat before surgery. So you can give it to them after the surgery, after they recuperated, but not before. So those are just a few examples, of course. Or it's when it's inappropriate, we should not give everything together when this person spends it right away, right? So at a time when it's not appropriate. Or of course money to a drug addict, unless they have overcome the addiction, we shouldn't, etc. So this is all common sense. Inappropriate giving from the point of view of the gift. Again, food for those who are not supposed to eat, addicts, money to gamblers, meat to vegetarians, Buddhist text to those who sell them. Okay? I mean, if there are people who make their living, that's a little difficult. I mean, if people make, and I don't think this is a problem in Israeli society, I don't think there are any statue sellers who make a lot of money by selling. But in India, there are quite a few people who make their livelihood by selling statues and scriptures. So it's a little complicated. I mean, if
it's
a past,
for us, we have where to buy.
I know for us it's good, but it's a bit like, you know, farmers are good for us, but they still may kill insects, etc. Right?
Israel is selling hair.
Huh?
Hair. To a Christian, hair from the holy course.
We put in bottle. Some
From
water,
air.
Water.
Air that you breathe.
Like
Boxes.
Air to breathe.
Air to breathe.
Air to
we
breathe.
sell empty bottles. We say it includes an air from the Holy Land.
Ah, ale. Oh, you sell? No, that's okay.
It's the same.
It's
like
okay. It's
It's
worse
Come on.
You said it expensively.
Ah, okay, all right.
No, I'm joking.
Ale, like water from the Jordan or something, right?
Yes.
Ah, yeah. I saw that at the
Water,
airport.
but air.
But air.
Even air.
It's an empty bottle.
Sealed bottle full of air.
In the airport, they have water bottles with water from the Jordan. Actually brought one bottle for my aunt. She's quite religious. It's like a whole kit. A cross, a stone from Jerusalem, from Bethlehem, and I don't know where it's really from. A little
So
bottle.
is it wrong to sell a statue?
For your livelihood, is said to be wrong. So what do you do? I mean, we need those people. They say like, if you just use it for your basic needs, so you're very careful about the money, you have some other income possibly, and don't use it for, you know, any kind of like just pure enjoyment, just for the bare necessities you can use it. So Tanka painters, for example, they have to be very careful. Yeah, that's the problem. It's difficult. Like, I mean, it depends on your motivation, I guess, again, most importantly. I really made this available to others. I think that's most important. If you just want to make a lot of money, then it's a negative motivation. If you do it, okay, these need to be made available, I need to live, so to have the motivation to benefit others more than making a lot of money. It's like when you don't care about benefiting others, you just care about making a lot of money, that's when it's a problem. So I think that should be like, if it's really like, there's like in Nepal, there are people called the Shakyas. Their family name is Shakyas. So they say, or they're believed to go back all the way to the family of the Buddha, Shakya, the Shakya clan. And I guess it makes sense that over the century, with Buddhism spreading in India and though disappearing to some degree, remaining in some pockets, that maybe that family continued the tradition of selling statues. And they're very, very, they don't really sell in stores as much. They go around. Well, they probably do that too. I guess they have some stores in Nepal. But I know they come every year to the IBD. When they're asked to come, I think, they come. And then they sell statues, and they're very reasonable. They never take more than what is necessary. Their artwork is exquisite. It's beautiful artwork. So they're very particular about getting the measurements right. Because like some just make, let's just make money, and it's not the right measurement. Never mind. There's certain measurements that are said to come down from the Buddha himself. So you're very conscious, really to benefit others. That's a positive attitude. You don't take more. There's a certain amount that you take, but you don't cheat other people. And then there are the statue sellers, like, you know, it's just for tourists and you want to make a lot of money. Now that is seen as negative, especially because what it represents is something so positive, and it just becomes, yeah, right? So then I think if you're a tanka painter and you sell it reasonably, or you know, you produce anything and you don't want to make huge money off it and you do it to benefit others, fine, right? It's definitely beneficial. But they say also with Buddhist texts, you know, like reproducing Buddhist texts, it's even worse, actually, because the scriptures are more important than the statues. So again, to make a lot of money and, you know, to cheat people. Okay. So anyway, it makes sense, I think. From the point of view of the gift, inappropriate giving from the point of view of the person. Oh, yeah. All right, so that talks about, for example, it gives the example, if you are studying a text and it's important for you, you haven't finished studying the text, it's important for you to accumulate your knowledge or your accumulation of wisdom as part of studying this text, and someone wants the text. Now, there may also be, you don't want to give it because you like the book, but that's not your main reason that you keep it. You keep it because you feel like you've not completed your understanding of that text, and so for that reason you don't give it. That's okay, because you still need it yourself. So in other words, you can apply this for anything. If we really need it ourselves for our Dharma practice, so we're not supposed as monks and nuns to give away our robes, okay? Because we need them as monks and nuns. So the most basic things are our robes, we should not give away. So there's certain things we should in general not give away. Yeah? Okay, so that makes sense. Giving from the point of view of material things that are actually harmful, they should not be given away. Okay, so this is actually again quite similar to before. Like that's what I said. I don't know what's the difference really. Anyway, look it up. And then inappropriate giving from the point of view of the purpose, giving that may potentially harm another person, giving pictures of children to a pedophile, for example, etc. Yeah? So these are just some examples. How to give out of things, giving whatever is beneficial with a pure motivation. That's most important. If asked by two people at the same time, one person is poor, one rich, one should give first to the poor. That was the question that came up before. Okay. What to do if you're unable to give? If it's really hard to be generous, especially with material things, if it's stinginess and miserliness or attachment that keeps us from doing it, well, reflect on our own death. To think we can't take it with us. We have to depart from it anyway. So might as well give it away already now, right? Whether we give it away when we die and it's taken away from us and there's no virtue, as opposed to... So one way would be to give it away, give away whatever is extra already now, or to make a will that when we die, we've already given it away. By law, it's not like it's left there, because that's seen as like you've not taken care of it. That may lead to attachment, but also you've not practiced generosity. This is an automatic kind of generosity that when you die, you've already given it away. So it's almost like you give it away in advance. That's a type of generosity. It's also good to do that. Okay, if you're not able to give away things now, then whatever you need, you keep that and make a will. It's a type of generosity. Okay, so but anyway, to reflect upon your own death and develop the understanding of the lack of inherent existence of the object. The object does not exist intrinsically as giving you happiness. Well, it's the truth of suffering. It's in the nature of suffering. Actually, possessions are in the nature of suffering. They do not have the ability to provide us with happiness, though it seems that way. And on top of that, they don't actually exist inherently. So to reflect on this, to reflect on the truth of suffering, on death, on the fact that they don't exist inherently, and that the person who enjoys them doesn't exist inherently, that is seen as a way to overcome attachment. Okay. And then relying on the remedies for the hindrance of generosity. Okay, so we're almost at the end here, but it says that a hindrance for generosity, we need to move on to the next point, which is much shorter, so generosity is one of the more extensive ones. But one of the hindrances of not being used to generosity, one of the hindrances is not being used to generosity. not having any tendency to give. So that's seen as a hindrance, an obstacle. So to overcome this, we need to become familiar through gradual and stable practice. So just and to visualize giving, to giving small amounts, to slowly enhance that tendency. Okay? Yes.
Well, in the beginning, when I thought about practicing generosity, I had some difficulties giving. And then I asked Klimatology what his advice would be for me. So he told me to give food to animals. So I gave bread to birds. It was so beautiful and inspiring to see the birds waiting every morning to come and give me food.
Beautiful. That's a very beautiful advice.
It was very nice practice.
Yeah, that's beautiful advice. So to give something that is easy to give, but like for example, you have a pet, you can give to your pet, or you give to the birds. I don't know if you go to like a children's hospital and you give out things there, or, you know, something you can do where you get at least the feeling of appreciation, which, you know, that in itself gives you joy. So it's not for that, but it's for the sake of training, you know, when you can actually see the benefit. That inspires you to give more. So with the birds, I think it's a beautiful idea.
It's easy because it's every day. You come every day. You don't have to go to the hospital. They're just nearby.
They're just nearby. Okay,
yeah.
Excellent. Yes. Pardon?
And they're not
expensive.
mine.
It's easy to do.
Yeah, it's not expensive. Yeah.
And they're not mine, the birds.
Yeah, they're not your birds. The bread is not expensive. Yeah, exactly. So it has lots of benefits. So to get this tendency of giving, or to give from one hand to the next, or to make an offering every morning of what's on the altar, but I think also to visualize on a daily basis, you give everything away. Right? Just the visualization. You can do Tonglen practice, very powerful Tonglen practice by giving. So instead of giving your happiness, and you visualize in particular with regard to material things, if that's difficult, that you give away your possessions and they multiply. So you don't feel destitute. So as you breathe in, as you breathe out, you give in all your wealth, and as you breathe in, it's replenished. And then you give, right? And you keep giving, and you keep having again and again. So it's always replenished. You just keep giving and giving. That's a beautiful way of accustoming yourself in like the act of giving, just in particular with regard to generosity. And then once you do this mentally often enough, you do the practice of Tonglen in particular. You know, you breathe in a replenished form of wealth and breathe out this wealth, right? It's kind of a slightly different version of Dongmen the way we know it, but in particular with regard to generosity. Okay? This is one of the Geshe, he kind of mentioned that. Not in that form, I've adjusted it a little bit, but to give actually, you give your body, you give your possessions and so forth. The Geshe who taught us in Dharamsala just recently. Okay. So that's one hindrance. Then the hindrance of another one is the hindrance of declining fortune, as it's called in the Lamrim. It's a weird word, but declining fortune. In other words, the hindrance of not having anything to give, right? Lacking enough material things, because of course, the more we have, the more we can give, right? This should not be an excuse to say, oh, I don't have enough to give. But sometimes we may lack the basic needs, the basic kind of food or money, so it's very hard for us to give. Then in that case, like a beggar in Dharamsala, they can't give bread to the birds. They don't have enough bread for themselves. I mean, they get bread and they eat it. So that would be another hindrance. So in order to overcome that is to give as much as possible. Yeah? Maybe visualizing, giving stones or something. I mean, it's all about the mind. The hindrance of attachment, whoa, that's a big one. It's a huge hindrance, having attachment towards things. And the hindrance of not seeing the goal. Without understanding the goal, why we do, then it's very difficult to. So this is those are all obstacles or hindrances. Okay, so
but also if we are doing it for a goal, it's an obstacle.
Well, doing it for a goal that wants to benefit other sentient beings, that's okay. Yeah. So
not getting married to.
No, not like for my own benefit. No. But like a goal, of course, the Mahayana goal. If you can see that goal, then it makes sense and it becomes a good reason to practice this. Okay. So then there's generosity, which is just mental, which is done in retreat, for example. So if you're in a retreat situation, you should just visualize, because you don't have the time to now go out and physically, because you're supposed to be depending on how strict your retreat is, but if your retreat is very strict, you're in silence, you don't see people. I mean, you can maybe put out some crumbs of bread out for the bats, but that's about it. So then you should just visualize to accumulate merit continuously, to continue your practice. It's more of a visualization. Then it's just mental. So in certain situations when you can't give, or like sometimes you just are too busy, you have to do so many other things, you can just visualize. But it should not become an excuse, of course. So giving away one's life, one's possession, one's partner, one's family, like, you know, you're giving them away, but not like selling them as slaves or something. Of course, you know what I mean, like just be generous. And this is also, okay, if one has a tendency to be very jealous and possessive with a partner, for example, one can visualize, may this person be happy with another person. May it not be me, even if they're happy with another person. So it's just visualizing it, but it's letting go of the attachment a little bit, and one is less jealous, because jealousy is just really painful. So to visualize the idea of, if they were to come to you now and say, look, I've fallen in love with another person, how are we going to react? Okay, so to visualize this happens and to say, okay, I'll support you, whatever you need. Yeah? So that would also be, it's hard, but very effective. Okay, and that is effective for the relationship too, because a very obsessive partner can make the other person not being able to breathe. It can be difficult. I mean, they feel like they can't breathe, they feel too, right? Okay, anyway, so this would be something, if someone suffers from that problem, and as far as I know you, I don't think any of you have that, but if you know someone who has that problem, being very obsessive with, then you could also maybe advise that. Yeah, give like an advice to that person, unless if they're not Buddhist, I mean, to just visualize. I mean, okay, they should be interested in the practice of love and compassion. I don't know, maybe that doesn't work, but if for some reason they are open, to just visualize, you give that person, you want them to be happy, so that they be happy, so you can give that offering of happiness to that person and whoever else is involved. Okay, so that is the generosity, which is just mental, and there's just a summary, which I have an even shorter version of the summary as it's presented. Start slowly, right? Learn about generosity, understand the advantages and disadvantages, start with the mental part, and then slowly enhance it from there. Okay? So this basically concludes generosity. It took me a little longer than I wanted it to take, but I hope this has been a little beneficial, to such a degree that we feel, you know, happy to give, and give a little bit more, give our time, fearlessness, etc. And even if it's just mental, to nonetheless get into the habit. Okay? All right. Any questions? Well, if there are no questions, anyway, we do the questions during the question and answer session. But if not, no, I'm not going to do a meditation now. And how long is our session? Until 5. Okay. I get a little confused.
6 actually, because he said not to separate the meditation from the...
Ah, okay. Would you be alright to... We have a break in between. We can have a break at 5:30. Would that be okay to have a break of 15 minutes?
Yes, you continue until 7?
No. To continue on
Until 6?
until exactly 6 o'clock. Oh, on the last day.
We'll be flexible, so we can have now 15 minutes
Break.
and then be flexible. So
Okay. So
Yeah, if you don't have many questions in the question and answer, then
Exactly.
the teacher can do a little yoga, because we were planning yoga.
no, it's not for me. No. Never mind, my yoga is not important. No. We definitely should be together here. We could continue with some meditation. You could continue with some discussion if there is. So that's definitely the time here. Is the time here. So
You don't take a break until 7.
we'll have a break.
no, we have breaks. We have one break now.
Not yoga break, but a break.
Yeah, a break. So let's take 15 minutes break, since we just finished. Or maybe, I don't know, we can do a little bit of Donglen. Let's do some Donglen in a few moments, just to get into the practice, before we start the break. To just do the breathing. As you breathe out, you give everything, your life, your partner, your possessions. And you feel how you benefit living beings as you breathe out. If you want to use the smoke, whatever, the light, you can use that. You're all familiar with the practice. And as you breathe in, is replenished. You replenish everything in order to be able to continue when you breathe out again to benefit others. So let's try that.
Who do we put in front of us? Everybody?
All sentient beings.
All sentient beings.
All sentient beings, especially the ones we don't like in the front row.